Hello and welcome back to the Zak Wylde Productions podcast. I'm Zak Wylde, and I'm joined again today by my co-host, Peach Buzzsaw Holland.
Hi. Yes, it looks like you and I, Jack, have
Landed
this
the job.
particular job of doing the podcasts. Obviously, we were very successful last time. Yay.
Yeah, we've done really well. So today we're going to be talking about the first special in the Lost History series, which is titled Phantoms of the Machine, which, as far as I'm aware, are all set in the Steampunk universe. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I think when it comes to the Steampunk universe, as we call it, the first question you've got to ask yourself is, what is steampunk? Because I dare say there's a lot of people out there that aren't familiar with the concept of steampunk. So it may seem a simple question to say, what is steampunk? But it doesn't mean it's got an easy answer, because if you go on any social media or you talk to any people when you're at steampunk events, and I do go to quite a few of them and have done for many years, everybody has a different idea of what steampunk is. To sum up steampunk, to make it easy for myself and those people listening, I'd probably say that if you can just imagine the Victorian Industrial Revolution with all the steam and the engines and everything going, and then add that sci-fi element, as if you've taken that and the course of human history hasn't changed so much as it's become more scientific and more advances, but it's all stayed with that Victorian-esque feel about it. The top hats, you've probably seen people walking around, they stick a pair of goggles on. Ooh, I'm steampunk. By all means, anybody that's listening to this, if you want, please, if you listen to this on Facebook or you're listening to it on YouTube, go on to the comments, stick down. We'd love to have your feedback. How do you define what steampunk is? But you're quite right, Jack. The Lost History is basically set within that steampunk universe.
So our characters in this universe, where do we meet them? Are they...
Well, in this first story, The Phantoms of the Machine, there's, like with all good stories, the title gives you some kind of an idea, especially once you've listened to the audio drama, or if it was a book, you've read the book, and obviously that answers the question of why is it called Phantoms of the Machine. In this instance, the machine itself, you first meet our two main characters in this story, and they are in, probably the best way to describe it is a room, but it's got no visible entrance or exit, no windows, and it's packed chock-a-block with steampunk machinery, like an engine, pops and whistles and lights, and all. If you can just kind of imagine that kind of a crazy inventor type setup. But our two characters are in the room, the machine room, and it's as if it's crashing. It could be in an earthquake, it could be crashing. There's nothing to say that it's moving or it's not moving. But in this particular, the machine is in this room. And unfortunately, the two characters, as we meet them, are both suffering from amnesia. So they themselves don't know how on earth they got there, where they are, what it is, who they are. And that's where we lead off with the story immediately. So there's a lot of questions to be answered right from the beginning.
Nice. I'm interested to find out, actually. Obviously, listening to the series, we'll eventually find out where this room is. So is the room...
Yeah, because it's going to be... it's quite a central pivot point to a lot of the stories.
So it's the gateway to all of their adventures, more or less. They go back to this.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've got to be... both of us have got to be a bit careful. Yeah. We don't want to give too much away. But the machine itself... Okay, so you've got an awful lot of stories set in the steampunk universe already, and of course classics like H.G. Wells' Time Machine, or the Time Machine. Obviously, there's a machine that does what it says on the box; it travels through time. All those Doctor Who fans out there, again, it's very steampunky, and the TARDIS, it travels through space and time. With the idea of the machine, it doesn't move through time. It moves, it opens. Okay, this is going to be the crux matter. It projects a door to wherever you want to go. So the room itself,
it's a fixed point.
We don't know where it is.
So it might not be a fixed point.
We don't know where it is. We don't know where it's situated. It could be top of a mountain. It could be under Paul's Cathedral, it could be middle of Paris. We don't know where this room is. But what it does is it projects a door to a place you want to go. So, for example, if you just wanted to go to, well, let's say you wanted to go to visit the Kremlin in Russia, you could, once you know how to use this, and remember our two main characters in this story, they don't know how they got there, what even this machine does.
So we're figuring out.
So that's it. We've got to figure these things out. But once you know how it works, then you would have the controller, the driver, for want of a better word, would be able to project a door and say, bing, there's a door. A door would appear in a wall in the Kremlin. You step out that door. There you go.
So you've got unlimited sort of
access to anywhere, but not through time, but through. So you're staying within the same timeline, but you're moving from wherever you wanted to go. But it's not just restricted to Earth, if you like, because in the steampunk universe, anything is possible. I don't know. Have you ever watched, or are you familiar with the First Men in the Moon?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
Absolute classic movie. Real kind of. I mean, before I'd say steampunk was even sort of thought of as a term. It's your mad Victorian type-esque scientists creating these wonderful things, and the First Men in the Moon. So they go to the moon and discover that there are aliens which are living within the moon. Those aliens, for the life of me, I can't off the top of my head think what they're called.
Let's refer to the...
Should we refer to the gallery?
Refer to the gallery.
Right, we're looking out into the studio of the gallery. What was that? Right, thank you very much. We've got a man who knows his stuff. It's the Selenites. So the Selenites live within the moon. Our two adventurers go to the moon. So in this instance, if you wanted to go to the moon, you'd use the engine. It would project a doorway that you could then be in the moon. So I understand from the script, from the story, that there is a little gizmo, gadget, that when you leave the machine room, you take with you, and that's kind of your portable unit, so that if you need, if you go away from your original portal, I don't really want to call it portal because it is a door. You just literally, you just step through a door. You step in out of this sealed room. A door appears in the wall of the room. You step out of there and you're into the place that you wanted to go. But if you move away from that place or you need to get back into that door, you need this gadget to open it. It's kind of like the lock, or itself, it's a mini projector. So if you suddenly got a vehicle or horse or wherever you went a long way away from your original doorway, you could project a door and it would move that door to where you are so you could get back to the machine room. And yes, in case anybody's not quite caught that, it is called a projector, not projector. It's not like a film projector, it's a projector. Because you are projecting a doorway.
I think it would be interesting as well to find out about these things through the characters' eyes, because obviously you say the characters have amnesia, so they're thrown into this situation at the same time as we are, so they're sort of figuring out how these machines work and everything.
That's it. So you're going to listen to the story, listen to the sound effects, listen to how the whole drama comes together, and every part of it's going to be key to telling the story to the listener of who's who and what's what. I mean, the character I play in this particular one is known as Dr. Keller. And even from the early moments of when we were doing the rehearsals for the script, it's trying to find the right character for that individual. So I was presented with, okay, here we have, you're going to be Dr. Keller. You don't know who you are, don't know why you're there, what's going on, who's this other individual with you, what's your character going to be like? So as a voice actor, what have I got to work on? I hadn't read the full script, thrown at the deep end, let's see what that character is. So initially I just took the name and I thought, okay, it's Dr. Keller, so we shall go for perhaps a kind of German accent, make him a German Dr. Keller. And that sounded great at the beginning, but actually after then getting further into the story, into the script, it didn't quite fit. And what does fit, and what we've chosen to go with, is the character is far more energetic. He's a really energetic, kind of, well, I'm at Cambridge. I got my doctorate at Cambridge, and I'm really enthusiastic for absolutely everything. I want to know how this works, why it works. I must know these things. It's absolutely fascinating. So we're going for that kind of really exuberant and full-on, more energy character for Dr. Keller. Who he is, I can't tell you exactly. You'll need to listen to more about the actual story as it develops.
When you do that sort of voice set, you can always picture a sort of bumbling sort of.
Yeah, that's kind of right. You know, that was the choice. We could choose any kind of voices for these individuals, but I really wanted to choose voices which
suit the tone of the story.
Suit the tone of the character that you can imagine immediately in your head, just like you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you've not heard the voice that I'm using for Dr. Keller, and you've immediately said, "Oh, it's a bumbling."
Yeah. But even just describing the room and everything, you can picture. Obviously, with audio, what's great about that is everyone's imagination's different, and they'll picture Dr. Keller in a completely different way to what I have.
Definitely. I think that's the beauty of doing audio dramas. It's because you're going on an adventure in your own head. This is a brilliant starter. The brilliant Phantoms of the Machine. So we've spoken about the machine, but of course
the
Phantoms.
That's what I was interested in.
Phantoms. That's what you're interested in. So while the story develops, so what we've got the situation is they, as I say, to want of a better description, they're crashing in the machine. They don't know who they are. They don't know where they're from or even what this place is. And during the story, they find themselves in a particular place where the laws of physics don't apply to where they are. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it could be. It could be a kind of a place between
universes.
And within this, they have these phantoms that appear. Phantoms which, ghostly appearances, which talk to them, give them information they didn't otherwise have. But are these phantoms actual phantoms existing within that timescape, or are they phantoms from the future, phantoms from the past?
So it all ties in together.
In order to get them to understand who they are, where they are.
And in turn, we'll find out information from what they're saying.
So and so it goes on with that. I suppose what we also need to look at is, as you said right at the beginning, this is the first of the specials from The Lost History.
Yeah.
So what is The Lost History? That's a good question. Can you answer that one for me, Jack?
You're doing well so far. So it's a special. So it's not. Is it the first of a series?
There are a series, and these are set in this steampunk universe of The Lost History.
Yeah.
And The Lost History. Now, this you can get your mind behind this. I love the concept behind the whole idea of The Lost History. It's where you've got, if you just take your mind to a point where in human history, humans were flint knapping, using flint tools, flint axes, flint knives, and of course, progression of human history goes on century after century, thousands of years after thousands of years, and technology generally is something that is very slow to be taken up. Sometimes you'll have cultures where they'll suddenly be far more advanced than other cultures in comparison, and then maybe their cultures crash for no reasons that are long forgotten. But again, human history chugs along.
Sort of adapts.
Adapts and it chugs along at its own pace, should I say. Technology developing as it goes. And you get to, as mentioned before, the Victorian Industrial Revolution with steam power, electricity is coming in, and then you suddenly find yourself where we are now. We're sitting in a fully equipped sound studio. We've got digital equipment, digital phones, accessing the World Wide Web,
maps on the phone.
Literally, no more than 100 years or so since the Victorian period, when that kind of technology wasn't heard of. I mean, in less than 100 years, men were on the moon.
Yeah.
Although some people would argue they haven't been there, but
For the sake of this podcast, we will say that they landed on the moon.
oh yeah, definitely men have been on the moon, and the Earth is.
That's for our conspiracy podcast.
It's not flat. Okay, but if you want to put comments in, feel free. If you're a flat earther, we don't mind. So what you've got is this situation where human technology is suddenly exploded, but we've all accepted it, that it's just run of the mill.
Natural progression.
Natural progression, but in such a short period of time. When you compare it to the timeline, as I said before, from human beings using flint tools, Iron Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, and onwards, suddenly, in what is literally the snap of a fingers, the blink of an eye in human history, we are
where we are now.
And everybody accepts that. Everybody accepts that there's nothing unusual about it.
Yeah.
100
years ago, yeah.
100 years ago, we were, walking everywhere. If you were lucky on a horse and cart, and even more lucky if you were on one of the first steam engines. So what's occurred is, for some reason, there was a huge timeline of more history leading from the Victorian age into this steampunk. So the Victorian age continues. The Victorian age develops. They get, into that, if you like, sci-fi steampunk world building that anybody does steampunk is familiar with. But for some reason, yet to be discovered, which you will through further stories, that big chunk of human timeline,
the whole chapter's missing,
is being removed.
Yeah,
it's been completely removed, and the two floppy ends from the Victorian age to the beginning of the 21st century have been knitted together, and everybody has sort of accepted that, and kind of don't question it. You know that.
Why would you?
Why would you? People have been charging around with bows and arrows and swords and things for centuries, and then suddenly you've gone from, rudimentary machines through to landing spaceships on Mars and leaving our own solar system with Voyager. So that's what the lost history is. It's this immense block of time which has been, for whatever reason, removed from our timeline, and it's the adventures of the characters in that. So we've not just got the adventures of the characters within the lost history, but also overarching it, discovering along the way what happened. Yeah. Why was it removed? Is that timeline even still continuing
to this day?
To this day on a parallel timeline? I can't tell you. I don't know. I don't know yet. I haven't read the scripts, But this is going to be the fantastic.
This is all going to be revealed.
The fantastic journey that we're going on with these audio dramas.
And again, going back to discovering that through their eyes as well, because obviously they would have grown up in this alternate timeline that you're talking about. That sort of there's a chapter missing. To them, that's going to be a bit odd to obviously discover that what happened to.
Again, we're delving into areas which I'm not completely familiar with, so this is great because both myself and both of us are going to discover this as we go through these podcasts. But yes, if they're in that lost history, but they themselves might also be asking, well,
how have you? Yeah,
why are we here? What's happened? Something's happened. Something's not right. We're noticing that there are. That something isn't quite right.
Stuff doesn't add up,
exactly. Things don't add up, and we've got to find our way through. Find out what's been going on in totality.
Because it's lost, and we need to find it.
It's lost, and we've got to find it.
So there's two characters. Your character, Dr. Keller,
yes,
and then...
Bumbling Dr. Keller, yes. Very interesting. Gosh.
He's in the room with us.
Yeah, he's in the room with us right now. He's fascinated with the headphones and the talkback system.
Professor Jonathan Smythe. Can you tell me a little bit more about him? Is he...
Professor Jonathan Smythe, again, is a very pivotal character because he's one of the main characters that I believe goes through all the lost history.
He's a recurring character.
Yeah, he's a recurring character. He's a main character. Again, I can't and won't tell you too much about his character in the early stages. It's only the second podcast. But he is a professor, ergo. Professor Jonathan Smythe, and we will
learn more about him.
Learn more about him.
He's going to learn more about himself. As well.
Yeah, that's right. Find out who Dr. Keller is, what relationship they have that's brought them together to find themselves in this predicament in the machine, in the Phantoms of the Machine. For all I know, for all you know, they might not even like each other. They might be arch enemies, or they might be the best of friends.
They might find out something about each other that they didn't realise before. Maybe they did know each other before. That's why they're in this predicament together.
In the predicament, exactly. Yeah, so all exciting stuff.
It is. I'm very much looking forward to finding out where this room is, first of all.
I think we all do.
But that's further down the line. And I'm sure in future podcasts we'll obviously be discussing developments in this story. Talk about if they find a phantom that tells them a bit of useful information, obviously that will come up. So I think we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly.
Yeah. Unless there's anything else you want to add.
No. I think this is going to be a wonderful journey for everybody to listen to and to follow. And of course, if you are a steampunk aficionado who loves steampunk, then I highly recommend it to get your teeth into this, follow it, and see where it goes, where it takes us.
We discussed in the last podcast as well, there isn't too much out there that's sort of set in this universe.
Well, not that I've particularly come across. I mean, I'm sure there are things out there, but there is
definitely a market,
a great market for it. There's a lot of people that basically want to
explore
the steampunk universe. So it's absolutely fantastic.
So thank you for listening. You can follow Zak Wylde Productions on Facebook, Instagram. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube and Podbean, Twitter, Instagram. I think I said Instagram.
honestly, Jack, there are just so many social media things these days.
Most of the social media.
Media things, I'm sure you'll find.
Plus, of course, the website ZakWyldeProductions.com.
ZakWyldeProductions.com.
You can listen to this podcast and our previous episode on there as well. Thank you for joining me again.
Yeah. As I said before, listeners, please put your comments down. Tell us what you want to hear about. Give us feedback. If
there's anything you want us to talk about as well.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't have to be ZWP. I mean, we can go off tangent. We can maybe we can have podcasts which are kind of like more of a free for all.
Yeah, more of a
chill out zone where we just say, let's talk about what we want to talk about.
Let's get other people involved. You'll probably hear other people on this podcast as well in the future episodes. So again, thank you for joining me.
That's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Look, I'm looking at the guy. There's our mentor out there in the gallery. He's giving us evil looks.
Yeah.
I usually get that look when he says, "Back away from the mic. Back away from the mic."
We've probably gone
You're
in and
being
out
too loud
from the microphone the whole way through.
Exactly. We're terrible.
We'll get better though. We're gonna improve on all
this. This is our chill out zone.
Yeah.
Okay, this is our chill out zone. It's different when you're in front of the mic and you're performing to.
Yeah,
just
this
relax
is a chance for you to get to know us as
just relax.
Personality.
Get to know us as your regular podcasters.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Cue the jingle.